How we feeling? How's the mood in there?
They're showing 1 for 2. Baker had it rolling. I mean, that's as good as I've seen him play when you consider the circumstances. Contextually, an error-free Baker Mayfield when he essentially only has a tight end and you don't go for 2 on the road, that's textbook right there. What are we doing?
You say it's textbook, but according to Next Gen Stats, ESPN Analytics, all of the modeling, there are 4 teams that scored touchdowns in the last 2 minutes of regulation, and they decided to kick to tie the game, and analytics say that's the right play, but all 4 of the teams ended up losing. But analytics say it's the right play.
But doesn't that take into account all the other quarterbacks in the league that bring that down when the opposing quarterback is Patrick Mahomes, and if he gets the ball, you're toast?
If you tell me one play on the road, I got to get 3 yards, I can avoid overtime, I can avoid all of it, that's the play that I want if I have confidence in my offense. One play for the game, 3 yards, I want to be on offense. I don't want to be on defense. Like, if I don't want to be on defense with the lead and the other team going for 2. I want them to kick the extra point and give me overtime.
That's a perfect opportunity to steal a game. You're devastated by injuries. You essentially just have Cade Otton out there. You battle your heart out. You give your quarterback an opportunity to win that game on the road because of what happened. Patrick Mahomes gets the ball, you don't see it, and now your season is looking pretty bad without that surprise win, and it probably changes your whole approach on this really massive day.
I don't know how everyone else feels about this, but we're officially in the land where the Chiefs have absorbed all of the things that the Patriots used to be. It's not just that you know Mahomes is going to win the game late. It's not just that you know they're going to convert their third downs. It's not just that you know that they're going to win all those one-score games. It's that when they get DeAndre Hopkins, it matters, and when anyone else gets DeAndre Hopkins, it doesn't matter. Because they are now in that rarefied Patriots air where if they get somebody or if they think they know something, we're willing to say, yeah, they must know something. Because DeAndre Hopkins, I thought no one wanted him 3 years ago. 3 years ago, he was available to everyone in the league. How is DeAndre Hopkins showing us the best Patrick Mahomes we've seen in about 14 games? And they've won 14 in a row, by the way. And that's the best Mahomes. Last night is the best Mahomes because they've won 14 in a row.
I love it when those two quarterbacks play one another. They just bring out the best in one another. Ever since college, there's just something special in the air when Baker Mayfield takes on Patrick Mahomes. So that's probably why. Not DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. Not actually filling the Rashee Rice spot with someone that's competent. Yeah. That's not what it is. It's the fact that Patrick Mahomes took to that gridiron and across the way was Baker Mayfield.
Why'd you go gridiron there? I think the person that uses
something special was in the air.
I think the person that uses gridiron instead of football field, douche.
No.
Gridiron?
Not after yesterday's game.
There's a time and a place, and that was the time, and that was the place.
I might be willing to grant you that Kansas City is the place.
Yeah,
I'm not
Arrowhead's a gridiron.
I'm not willing to grant you that that's the time. Middle of the season, early November, that's not the time.
It was a time for Mike to say it, is what I was.
No,
that was a time for me to say it.
Yeah.
There's certain places that don't have fields; they just have gridirons.
Mm-hmm.
Soldier Field.
Yeah.
Its field is in the name. That's a gridiron.
How about Lambeau?
Oh, gridiron.
That's a gridiron.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What are they calling Heinz these days?
Ooh.
Acrisure? Can't get behind that.
That became a field.
No.
Yeah.
Went from gridiron to field. Rare, but it happens.
Mm-hmm.
How many gridirons are there? Give me a number.
Oh, hold on. We're going to go stadium by stadium?
Because I think you're under 3. I think
First Energy Stadium.
I think you've just named the only 3 gridirons that there are.
Pitbull Stadium.
Minnesota Outdoors would have been gridiron, but if you put Minnesota in a dome, it ceases to be gridiron.
Boise.
How about Chicago, Soldier Field?
Yeah, good
Steve
one.
Martin also.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think that college football can be a gridiron.
But it's blue.
But it can't be college football. Gridiron can't be college
Strictly
football.
NFL?
Tell that to the big house.
There's some college gridirons.
I disagree.
Oh.
Touchdown Jesus is not overlooking a gridiron?
No, once you're playing semi-professional football, you don't get the gridiron. The gridiron only goes to professional football.
Really?
And furthermore, professional football that's been played in the cold since the 50s.
Now you have rules for it.
That's correct.
Ford Field,
As opposed to you,
What
which
is
has no
professional?
rules. and
Willy-nilly.
You have no explanation for what you're doing. You're just saying words.
What
There's
makes
no.
It's one of those things, Dan, when you see it or you
know.
think it, you
Yeah,
know.
you get
What
it.
makes
That's
it
it.
professional football?
Good question.
Millions and millions and millions of dollars to the quarterback.
Well, that's in college
Okay,
now
well,
too.
There you go.
No,
Gridiron.
millions and
Gridiron.
millions
You
and
see?
millions.
Ford
Yeah.
Field, the
Did
rare
you see what
indoor
Portnoy offered
gridiron.
for Michigan?
It's got to be $50 million a season for the quarterback.
Well, they don't even have that in the NFL. I don't
do you
think
mean?
does Mahomes make $50 million? That seems like a lot.
No, $50 million is the number that all those guys make. Trevor Lawrence.
Tua makes $50 million.
Yeah.
all
They
of
need
them
to
do.
look at this.
Goff's making like 53 or something.
Goff's making $53 million? Really?
Everbank Stadium,
I
the
thought they were making like
Jaguars.
$14 million.
That's a field. Jaguars play on a field.
That's Kachuk.
Where else are the gridirons? Because I don't agree with you guys that college football can have a gridiron. It's got to be professional football. It's got to be also. You guys are doing this in November, and you can't do it in November. It's
There was a
also-
chill in the
Yeah,
air.
you can.
No,
Yes, of course you
no,
can.
it's got to be
Yep.
more than a chill. It's got to be tundra that's frozen.
No,
It
that's a
can't be-
tundra.
That's
You're
different.
confusing tundra
Totally
with
different
gridiron.
thing.
Get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I
don't
get
get
it. Today's a
He doesn't
there's a lot
understand.
going on today, but you're
off.
He's trying to be
confusing
divisive.
tundras
Yeah.
and gridirons. A gridiron can have sprinklers going across it the first day of spring.
The dog pound's a gridiron.
Your words, I got baggage.
I'm saying this of tundra and gridiron. All tundras have a gridiron. All gridirons are not on tundras.
They should have went for 2. Is the bottom line.
Again, the math says don't go for 2.
No, but the
I don't
math
care
is
about the
bogged
math,
down
right.
by guys making $14 million at the position, not this incredible amount that I'm just learning about. Wow, we're hearing that for the first time. $50 million. You can't be doing that against Patrick Mahomes
Yep.
because of what happened. Because of what, you know what? There were people that work in this office. I'm not going to name names. I'm possibly one of them that fell asleep as soon as that game went to overtime, knowing what was going to happen.
Really?
Yeah, which is clearly the right tackle for Kansas City is going to get an early jump and they're going to score a touchdown.
Baker knew it, right? At the coin
Yeah.
toss. He knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
He knew he was walking
We
off
all
that
did.
field for the final time.
Yes.
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 Some fields aren't gridirons or fields, they're hazards. MetLife, hazard.
Hazard.
Bengals Stadium,
Hazard.
Paycor
Hazard.
Stadium, hazard.
So many bad things have
Everybody
happened there.
knows
Yep.
hazard.
The jungle.
This whole math situation, by the way, you just said the math said to do it and the math was 0 for 4. That's like I'd take a math test and 2 + 2 is 5. Like, that's math. It's wrong math. But it's still math, technically.
Does math factor in? You're on the road. You're playing against Patrick Mahomes. You're
question.
running the ball all over that team. You
Good
have
idea.
momentum. Does math factor that in?
Well,
I mean,
you weren't here because you were smoking a rare morning heater when we were talking about it. But
Meter.
in week 9, 4 teams scored touchdowns in the last 2 minutes of regulation, decided to kick extra points to tie their games. And ESPN Analytics agreed the modeling with the decision to kick the extra point in all 4 of the instances, but all 4 of the teams lost. And this is a move that Stugotz is going to be able to do for the rest of his life, which is once the team loses, he says, I don't care about math. And he gets to be right forever because he hasn't failed to make the 2-point conversion. He's just going to keep doing this show. This show,
What do you mean?
Stugotz is going to do this show 10 years after he has died.
Yeah.
From the coffin, he's just going to spit these cliches, should have gone for 2, don't care what the math says, don't do math, don't understand math, not applying math to sports, don't want to think, just want to say they did it wrong, I always do it right.
heaven.
But Dan is touting math that is currently successful at a 0% clip.
Yep.
They changed the overtime rules in that sport because of what happened to Patrick Mahomes one offseason where he lost a coin toss and he lost it to Tom Brady. And then he won a coin toss and other quarterbacks like Josh Allen didn't get an opportunity. He is a math breaker. So you got to go on vibes, especially when you're the Tampa Bay Bucks fighting to keep your season alive, decimated by injuries, and you have a quarterback that's playing hot. You got to go for it. You got to.
I'm excited about this, Stugotz, because we were having a conversation before the show, one that, to be honest with you, to be frank, I was concerned that Dan wasn't necessarily going to be down for today, and it had to do with, with the NFL standings. Now,
Yeah.
with what we're talking about math and how, follow the math, even if the math is wrong, I feel like Dan is going to be in on this. So, Dan, we can unleash it later. We can maybe just tease it now. We're coming up with a statistic, a new one, an advanced stat. It's called quality losses.
QLs.
We want to give credit for some quality losses and maybe replace one of the playoff spots with a quality loss. We can get to that in the main show when we kind of get to – we can run it down for you. But just keep an eye out for that, an ear out for that, if you will. By the way, Nissan Stadium, Tennessee, field.
Yeah.
Also, AT&T Stadium, Dallas, pains me to say it, field. Mm-hmm. Not a gridiron.
Yeah.
Chris, where's your father?
I have no idea. He just texted me that he'd be here. He texted me a while ago that he'd be here at 8:44, and it's 12 minutes past that. So, traffic, am I right?
It's raining too. Yeah.
So you don't know where your father is, but he's usually pretty good for some Dolphin homerism on a Tuesday, and I don't know how it is he's going to muster Dolphin homerism today.
Well, he felt like the Dolphins' loss against the Bills was a QL. I mean, how about that? He sent me a text.
We'll get into it later, yeah. How long before you issue a silver alert for Greg?
I'd say an hour.
Is it a silver alert or a gray alert?
What?
Greg alert.
Life alert.
Wouldn't it be a gray alert?
What's a gray alert?
An old person alert.
No, it's called a silver alert.
It's a silver alert.
Yeah, it has an actual name.
It should be a gray alert.
Like code blue.
First with the math and now with this. The guy just wants to ignore facts.
You guys keep doing this, and you're putting me in the position. It's such a good move by you guys to just say again and again, well, you've got one play. This is the simple math, and it's the math I would agree with as you put me in the position of arguing on behalf of just playing probabilities, which is what everybody out there was doing. If you give me a game against Patrick Mahomes where at the end of the game I get to be holding the football and he doesn't, I want to be holding the football because he's not holding the football.
That's good math.
But advanced math takes into account variables, and I don't know. You said it was 0 for 4. I don't know the names of the quarterbacks that they went up.
One of them was the Bills-Dolphins game. One of them was the game. The Dolphins didn't go for it either, and that's another circumstance. In that situation, I'd rather take my chances with I have the ball, Josh Allen doesn't have the ball, one play for the game, 3 yards.
But it wasn't for the game because you still had a minute and a half left.
I appreciate
the game wasn't going to end on that play.
I appreciate your ability to create a spirited debate on something that you're not even on the side of. I think you're aligned with us on this one.
Right.
The variables change when it's the greatest quarterback of all time.
I want to get into some of these numbers, though, with Mahomes because you're making him the greatest quarterback of all time. That's a little early, and Stugotz just rolled over for you there, which surprised me. He's always here for a greatest ever debate. He just gave Brady's thing away to Mahomes there without even paying attention.
He might have caught up to Aaron Rodgers in terms of all-time quarterback rating last night. I gotta check
he passed Aaron Rodgers.
Listen to some of these numbers. Like this is the damning stuff.
All right.
The last 8 games in which this is OptaStats. The last 8 games in which the Chiefs trailed at any point in the second half, including the playoffs, win, 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 win. No other NFL team in history has won 8 straight games in which they trailed in the second half, regular season and postseason.
So what happens when another mathematician bombs in with that stat?
Yep.
Hey, you got 2 competing math stats.
Yep.
Josh Dubois of the AP says Mahomes is now 47-19 in his career in games decided by 7 points or fewer, playoffs included. And then this is the stuff that changes everything when it comes to Mahomes being ranked in the 20s in all of the quarterback stats. This is from Shieldcapedia. Patrick Mahomes on third down, 11 for 13 for 126 yards and 10 first downs. He's got the highest success rate on third and fourth downs this season, and he's got the highest EPA per play and on third and fourth downs this season of all quarterbacks. Basically, he's failing on first and second down in a way that makes him the worst quarterback in the league, and on third down, he's the best quarterback in the league, so he keeps converting first downs.
When it counts. Likes to make it interesting.
Stu, do you think he's just playing with his food?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know him to be supremely skilled, and that those first, second downs, when you compare it to the rest of his career, that would appear to be an outlier. It kind of gives me the vibes that he's just trying to figure things out on first and second down. He's had different personnel, and he's just taken some hacks, and he knows exactly when he needs to lock in, and be the greatest.
First and second down is a feeling out process for Patrick Mahomes, and he makes you think, hey, we've got him right where we want him, but you don't. He's got you.
It says more about the injuries that they've had to their backfield.
Yeah.
They've had a bunch of injuries on that team, and they've navigated it, so it would help explain what's going on first and second down.
Greg Cody, what are you doing?
I'm getting on. This is the new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We can't go out, man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man, so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Greg Cody is here. He is ready, and I feel the responsibility, the obligation, the duty to start somber and serious. Do I not?
Why?
Because today is a pretty scary day, all things considered.
Yeah, I forgot.
Nervous day for you, huh? I mean, same for me. It's, it's deadline day. Are certain teams going to get the players they need to make a big playoff run? You have the selection committee. What are they going to do with Army? What are they going to do with Vanderbilt? It is a big day. I'm nervous as well, Dan. Yeah.
Huge day.
I'm on edge.
Yeah, a lot going on.
Yep.
Gentlemen, why are y'all on the edge? There's no reason to be sad.
Scared?
That either. There's no reason to be any of those emotions other than optimistic. Dan Le Batard, how you doing, old friend? Good to see you.
I am happy to see Roy Wood Jr. I'm also happy to see Michael Ian Black. These guys are doing some good and fun television around politics. I don't know if Michael Ian Black knows anything about sports, though. I don't know.
I know everything about sports.
Yeah.
Everything. What are you talking about? Don't know any. Michael knows anything about sports. I know everything about sports. Okay. Saquon Barkley did something yesterday.
Yes, that was Sunday, but okay.
2 days ago, yeah.
Okay.
It's okay.
He did do something yesterday, too, probably.
And he's a football player, guys.
Yep.
That is correct. I should tell people that this show, it's a legitimately funny news quiz show. It's Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern on CNN. Have I got news for you? They're trying to rattle and change the format. But you were saying, Roy, I interrupted you.
Dan, this is a splendiferous and duplicitous day. I have my red and blue lights on in the background to celebrate democracy for maybe the final time, Dan.
What is the size of that cup of excess that Michael is drinking from there? Because that looks like America. How
Jesus.
I mean,
This is the Q leader mug.
that's a lot. That's got an undertow. That drink has an undertow.
God.
Roy, you're not making me feel better about today. I am scared. How can I not be scared? How is polling still close, even with positive polls? I can't trust polls.
Because people are stupid, Dan. We have to understand that some people like to be pandered to. There were some people who hadn't decided on which candidate they were going to vote for until they saw Trump work at McDonald's. And then they were like, all right, now I have all the information I need. We're kind of dumb as a country. It just is what it is. You know how you have that one person in your office who picks the Super Bowl winner based on whose team colors coordinate the best? That person's also voting in this election today.
You've just described me, Roy. You've just described me.
Well, you are. I want you to be positive. I'd like you to be positive, but your latest Substack post, the headline is "We're bleeped either way." So
So there's nothing to worry about. Either way, we're effed. So it's just a question of, is it going to be slow? Is it going to be fast? And that's a personal preference. That's up to you guys, you know? The nation is in a terrible place right now because if Trump wins, well, he's going to enact his policies. And if Kamala wins, those policies won't be enacted, but it's going to be, she's not going to be able to get anything done. So we're just going to continue this stalemate of a government sort of in paralysis, no matter who wins. It's going to be a disaster. So just enjoy it. Enjoy the ride to hell.
All right, excellent. So optimism aplenty there, Roy.
I will say that if there was ever a day, men, for you to flirt with a woman, today's the day. Because somewhere around 11:30, when those polls get to closing and Kornacki starts touch screening all night long, you can just ease up to some woman at an election party and go, hey, we did it. What's your name? Or you can go, I can't believe that happened. What's your name?
Michael, I'm interested here. What do you think the committee does with Indiana?
He doesn't know sports. He doesn't.
No, I know sports. The committee in Indiana. I mean, look, it's a tough one. They're gonna. I don't know how they're gonna figure this one out, but somehow they got to.
Yeah, you're right. Well said.
It is good analysis. I'll ask you a little something more in your wheelhouse. I'm sorry, Roy, I interrupted.
Am I the only person that doesn't like it, or I get nervous when I feel like when our armed forces are good at college football, it's a good sign of where we are in terms of internal conflict globally. Because normally, like when the Army is like 4-8, 4-6, never going to a bowl, and now they're balling out all of a sudden. It goes, okay, cool. They're not studying as much war stuff, so the players have more time with their playbook. So I feel like it's a good sign that troops won't get deployed. I'm not here to, tell you to bet on that, but I'm just telling you how.
That's not the semi-sure bet of the week. We'll get to that in a second. But Michael, what got you of the last week as you're watching the idea that RFK is going to oversee healthcare and Herschel Walker is going to be in charge of missile defense? What you've been watching over the last week, you seem to be on the show. Have I got news for you? I don't know if you've got Roy topped, but you seem to be the most pop culture savvy by leaps and bounds, and that's no indictment on anyone else. You seem to know everything that is going on around the news. So over the last week, what have what has set off alarm bells for you?
Alarm bells? I mean, somebody said, look, I'm a Democrat. I'm not gonna make any pretenses about that. I don't know what you guys are, but somebody said yesterday that the thing that has him most worried is the level of optimism among the Democrats. And that actually struck a nerve. I thought, yep, that's about right. If Democrats are feeling good, that's a problem. So that struck me. Elon saying that he thinks he said he's effed and he's going to go to jail and whatever if Kamala wins, which I don't fully understand why that would be the case. I don't know what he's worried about other than he acts like that, other than he just is that dude. That would be some cause for concern, but he's going to be that way no matter who wins. And then, of course, all the sports stuff. Holy cow. I mean, right. I don't even know how we begin talking about that.
James Franklin dropped another big one. I mean, what do they do with him at Penn State?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this kid was a blue chip in my book, and now I don't know.
Well, he's a coach. But
That's okay.
It's all right. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
We can mine this for a little bit because I don't think he knows much of anything about sports, but I do think he could pretend to know everything. Roy, you can't trust the polling, but I do keep assuming, even if I have post-traumatic stress disorder from everyone getting everything wrong in 2016, I do keep thinking there's no way that women don't turn out in a way that alters this election. I keep thinking
they have to. And then you also have, I think, a Latino populace that's been activated now as well. Look, when you have Bad Bunny and Ricky Martin tweeting about politics the week before the election, there's definitely something different in the air. Can I ask y'all a question about Kamala on SNL real quick?
Yep.
Just for the sake of analysis. You put one candidate on, and because of the laws, you have to give equal time to the other candidate. NBC accommodated Trump by giving him, I think, 90 seconds of free ads at some point. If you're NBC, why not just put Trump on any one of your other shows for 2 minutes straight? Like, I don't know, Law and Order SVU. Special episode.
Just equal time somewhere. Just
A special episode.
It doesn't have to be campaign ads. Like, they literally could just go, hey, man, do you want to be on The Voice for a couple of minutes? And that would have been way better than some Trump ad that, you know, the ads that kept running during the World Series where it's about Kamala and prisoners and all of that.
Hey man, you want to spin the Wheel of Fortune for a couple minutes? Have at it. Fun. That'll be fun for you, Don. Go, have fun.
Is that indeed an NBC property? I don't think it is an NBC.
Let's not get technical about this, okay? Let's
I
get
like
to
this
the
guy. Yeah. I do.
The one thing I really hated about this political season is that I know that the candidates pay for their ad time, but no political ads during sports. It's just such a buzzkill in the middle. Like, you want to go pregame, postgame, fine, put all the ads you want. But like, a guy will just, like, Freddie Freeman hit a walk-off grand slam, and then we'll be right back with the trophy presentation. Kamala Harris is chopping off all the genitals of the prisoners. It's like, whoa, bro. Whoa. Put that, like, save that for regular season. Like, any sport that's in regular season campaign ads. But I think, like, World Series, I don't know. It felt like a lot. It was a buzzkill.
But the prostate ads don't bother you? That's fine. The ads for all kinds of
I'm 45, Michael. It's about that time. I'm turning the corner, and those are the things I need to be connecting with. I'm almost at that age where them commercials on Fox News going to be for me. So I just got to think about that a little bit.
Michael, as you've been an astute observer of America, I would say, both its pop culture and as can be seen on Have I Got News For You, you understand its politics. What do you make of the last 8 years? Like, did you know that this was the country that you were living in?
No. Does that answer your question? No. I mean, it's been a rude awakening. Now, look, we can sit here and talk about privilege of various kinds, most of which I have. But to see the sort of scales fall from my eyes over the last 8 years as 47% of my countrymen are willing to vote for an adjudicated rapist, convicted felon, fraudster, con man, grifter, liar, and bloviator, it has been somewhat distressing to witness that. And whatever your excuse for voting for this man pales in comparison to who he is. And if we're just going to say that character is irrelevant to the presidency, then we should just say it. But the fact of the matter is, character trickles down to policy, and we've seen that time and time again. We've seen Nixon's paranoia trickle down to policy. We've seen Clinton's problems with his own genitalia trickle down to policy and almost cost him his presidency. We've seen Trump's carelessness, laziness, and arrogance and malevolence trickle down to policy. So when you say character doesn't matter, which I think seems to be the argument, it has to be if you're supporting Trump, then I think you have to say that we're also fine with the malevolent policies that he is at least suggesting. And if he wins again, I think we'll probably do everything in his power to implement. So yes, it has been extremely distressing over the last 8 years to recognize that I live in a country where 47% at least of the population is fine with all of that.
Roy, you're less surprised, correct?
Yeah, I'm black. Is that what you mean?
That's why I started by saying we can talk about the privilege.
I should have said, Roy, you're black. That should have been my question.
You know what's interesting is watching Saturday Night Live had a sketch in 2016 with Chappelle and Chris Rock and a couple of people where they had the black people watching the election party and not being as surprised as the white people. that Hillary was losing that night. I think it's a little bit of that, but I really do think we're going to, like when Trump is talking about, oh, we got to take the license away from CBS or NBC. We're beyond the crooked media. Now we're into attacking entire entities. And in a weird way, I hope that becomes his downfall, because now you're dealing with corporate money, and corporate money always trumps politics. But that makes me legitimately concerned that this man can just point at anybody and go, there he is, get him. That's our new enemy. And then that's what you deal with. He's talking about pointing guns at Liz Cheney, pointing guns at the media. This is all within the last week. So I'm more concerned as a member of the media and a stand-up comedian what the trickle down of that malevolence that Michael's talking about is going to have. I mean, of course, there's policy that's going to hurt everybody, but when you start getting into, hey, I don't like your job, then it can get a little weird out there when you're walking around with a camera.
I'm more concerned about Juan Soto. Michael, do you think he'll get the $700 million he thinks he's going to get?
Look, this kid has been a blue chip for as long as I can remember.
Yeah,
That's true.
I mean, this is a 5-tool player, and
true.
The way he swings a bat, my goodness.
Oh, look, he knew the sport. He knew the sport.
I mean, just such a fluid stroke on that dude. So look, is he gonna get the 7 large? I don't know, but we're gonna see a contract that I think is gonna make him very, very happy. Will it be with New York? Will it be with LA? Who's to say? I don't know.
All these guys like Soto.
Wait. Was that at all? Was I somewhere?
Yeah, it was bloviating.
It's more New York, but you were close.
LA's in play.
LA's in play.
It's actually pretty on the money.
Yeah, pretty
Is
good.
it though? Is it Soto due for his? Where did Luke Skywalker get sent to learn all the stuff from Yoda? Was it
Hogwarts?
Yeah, Hogwarts. He's due for his exile year. He's due, every great player has their 5-year exile money grab contract. A-Rod went to Texas for an absurd amount. Who's the boy went to Seattle? Cano, before the steroid
Robinson.
Robinson Cano, yeah.
There's certain players that just go, you know what, let me just get a bunch of money in a weird market for a couple of years, and then I'll come back to the highest bidder a little later. I don't feel like Soto ends up on either coast. He'll end up with the Minnesota Twins or something dumbfounded. All respect to the Twins, but you're not the right place for him. But he'll come there because they'll pay $840 or something stupid.
I will tell the people.
When somebody takes a lot of money and goes into the hinterlands, is that how you ended up at CNN with me?
Yes.
That show, Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern on CNN, the coveted time slot, also streams Sunday on Max. But, Michael, it does really seem in your wheelhouse. I don't know if you guys are having as much fun as it looks like on television, because these things are hard to pull off. And I know a lot of work goes on behind the scenes that people don't know about, but you're making it look easy.
Well, from my point of view, no work goes on behind the scenes. I show up on Fridays at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. We shoot at 7 o'clock. I've done nothing to prepare. Nothing has prepared me. I put on clothes that they lay out for me. They put some stuff on my face and stuff in my hair, and I go out and talk. It's the best job I've ever had. It's a little bit like your job.
Wow, Roy.
It's exactly like my job.
What a great economy you've created, Roy, for your friends and people you care about. That's an easy gig for him. I thought it would be hard.
I show up at 1. I'm only there 2 hours before you.
Okay, so you guys are just good at entertainment. And
Thank you, Brits. Thank you. Well, here's the thing. The show is a British remake that's been on for 30, 35 years. So they know how they have an assembly line in order of how to ideate the content and all of that stuff. So you don't have to slave over stuff and show up every day for a whole week. By Thursday what stepped on versus what's still fresh that you can talk about and what the angles are. So it's a good time, man. It really is. And then we get to kind of, what I really hope for the show is that it grows like the Brit version, where we can have on more right-wing guests who are actually people that normally wouldn't be on the network, but will come on this show because of, the atmosphere that we've tried to create, where, we can talk a little policy, rib you a little bit, but it's still just jokes.
Can you walk me through?
We actually have our first MAGA congressman coming on, I think the week we get back, Tim Burchett from North Carolina. He's legit MAGA dude. He's going to be a guest.
Michael,
Hopefully, a very sad guest after the election, but he will be a guest.
I wanted to ask you what you made, because comedians are talking about defending comedy, and Jon Stewart says of Tony Hinchcliffe and the thing that has motivated Hispanics at what felt like a racist joke in the middle of what felt like a racist rally. Where do you stand on all of that? Because some comedians can defend the right to do comedy, even in that setting, even at this time in America.
Of course you can defend it. You can absolutely defend a comedian's right to tell a joke anytime, anywhere. That doesn't matter. What matters is the consequences of that joke. He has every right to say it. Trump had every right to hire him. But when you go out there and you stand in front of a crowd at Madison Square Garden and that speech is going to be amplified to the rest of the nation, I think you need to be a little bit more careful with the kinds of material you're doing. If you're going to call, it's not like showing up at the Comedy Mothership and roasting some open mic dude for his bad jokes. In essence, you're a surrogate for the man who wants to be president of the United States. So you just have to have a little bit of care and tact and thought about what you're doing. Now, if that's what you're doing, if you're echoing his message, which in fact Tony was doing, then have at it. But at least be prepared for the consequences. I'm fine with Trump hiring him, and I'm fine with whatever he wants to say. But, buddy, I mean, there's going to be blowback. Just get ready for it.
And I think that's the issue too, because when you look at it, base of like comedians want freedom from consequence. Everybody wants freedom of speech, but they don't want any consequence on the other side of it. And I think comedy in a non-comedic setting is always going to have stuff interpreted differently. I don't know Hinchcliffe on a personal level. Like, he's not a guy that I could text on a day-to-day, but I'm willing to bet, because I know a lot of roast comics, they don't believe half the shit that they're saying when they're saying what they're saying, when they're joking on the dais or the Comedy Central roast or whatever. Like, Greg Giraldo, who was one of the best at it, he didn't wish half the stuff that he was saying on people, but when you say it in a certain forum, in this politically charged time, then that's going to be designated and assumed to be your belief. And I think that's the real unfortunate part of the whole Hinchcliffe thing, is that he's going to be assumed to be something top to bottom now because of where the jokes were told.
Do I have it wrong when I ask you guys, and I'll let you go on this note, and I'll direct it toward you, Michael. You guys seem to exist in a bit of a fray from a different generation over this podcast group of people like Hinchcliffe that have found a lane and may not have exactly the standards you do or the history and perspective you do, because they're doing things a little bit differently than you guys are. You guys don't exist. You guys are gone to a traditional mainstream outlet to now do your comedy and your politics. These guys are not doing it that way. Where do you guys fit watching the Rogan guys come up as on the day that Rogan's endorsing Trump?
I'm fine. I'm fine with comedians doing whatever it is they want to do, however they want to do it. I'm totally fine with that. I don't care if Dave Chappelle is out there saying anti-trans garbage. I don't care if Tony Hinchcliffe is out there saying anti-Puerto Rican garbage. I don't care if Joe Rogan is endorsing Trump. Like, that is the beauty of this nation, and those of us who are in this profession celebrate the First Amendment like nobody else, because our livelihoods depend on it. That doesn't trouble me. And I'm not saying I had any higher standards than anybody else. I've made the crassest, grossest, most horrible, offensive jokes in the world. I think all of that's fine. What matters is, as Roy was saying, was context, situation, and at least being responsible for what you're saying. If you're going to say something horrendously offensive, at least be able to back it up, at least be able to defend the joke. For Tony, his reaction to it was, it's just a joke, change your tampons. I'm sorry, that's not a very persuasive argument for why you should be taking a dump on an entire people who have done nothing in the context of what you're talking about, and people who Trump has been attacking for 8 years. So yeah, what Roy said is right. You want freedom of speech, but you don't want freedom of consequences. I mean, but you're not willing to have freedom from consequences. Okay, like, I don't have a problem with anybody saying anything. Just be prepared.
Gentlemen, thank you. The show is good. Have I got news for you? Saturdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on CNN and streaming Sundays on Max. Good talking to you. Thank you for making the time.
My pleasure. Let's get this Indiana thing sorted out ASAP.
Yes. Finally, we can talk about what Jessica's been waiting to talk about here, dying to talk about college
Indiana?
football. Yes, college football in Indiana. We'll do that next. I have in front of me Diana Rossini's What I'm Hearing About NFL Trade Deadline. 13 players, 18 teams to watch closely.
Oh, wow.
I can't do this.
Wow.
I can't watch 18 teams closely.
It'd be easier for you to tell me the teams that I don't have to
Put
watch
it on
at
the
all.
poll
Yes.
at Le Batard Show. Can you watch 18 teams closely? Yes or no?
We could disperse the players amongst us, and we each keep an eye on 2 or 3
Well,
players.
this one's already old news. Give me the breaking news sound, even though we're an hour late into trade deadline day. We've got something. Yeah, thank you. She's writing, the team has checked in, the Lions. They've been hunting a pass rusher with numerous teams around the league, including Cleveland, with the hopes of landing Zydus Smith, who they've now landed. They have now landed Zydus Smith. That's right. Zydus Smith has been landed.
No team more than Dan Campbell and the Lions could hunt for a lineman, a pass rusher.
Yes, they hunt for a pass rusher, an edge rusher. They hunt for violence. They hunt because they lost Hutchinson. They've got one of like the 7 guys in the league who can have 4 sacks a game, and he's hurt. And so now they got poor man's. After Tannenbaum was out here saying trade everything in for Myles Garrett, they get a very poor man's Myles Garrett here in Zydus Smith, but he's a pass rusher, and it's what they wanted.
And they didn't have to trade everything. Right. I mean,
well, this is what the Chiefs can do when you're a piece away. You don't go after Devontae Adams. You just go DeAndre Hopkins, and you can make it work. And now they're 8-0, and they've won 14 straight. And we're talking about all the other teams in the leagues when everyone's 4-5. And how many 2-win teams do we have in that league? Is a third of the league terrible?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
But all in the hunt.
Mm-hmm. Everyone. Yes.
Half of the league is average.
Yeah. That's a good pickup for Detroit.
Sure.
I like it.
Sure.
I like it. Cool. Do we feel better about their chances?
No, we've got till 4 p.m. today for someone to up the stakes on Detroit. I heard on the way in, I heard people arguing, I think it was Floria's show, do you take the Lions or the field in the NFC? Do you take the Lions or the field?
Can we make that a social media tile? Dan, do you like their chances? Sure. That's great engagement bait.
I like their chances yesterday, I have to be honest. I would take the Lions, by the way.
You want me to do it another way? Okay.
Yeah.
This is the greatest team in Lions history, and it just got better.
Nice.
That's actually pretty
nice.
good. Seriously,
nice.
clip that.
I mean,
but that's how you do it.
But I mean, this is the season with most expectations in Lions history, and they've exceeded them, and they just did it again.
Nah, too wordy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other than the seasons when Detroit won the NFL championship, you mean?
If it happens in the 50s, it doesn't count.
Bobby Lane.
It's,
I mean, come on.
You got to have a Super Bowl. No, before the Super Bowl is not football. You're an old man. You don't remember those games.
No, I don't. I was a toddler.
You don't legitimize 1957 championships pre-Super Bowl.
So what Vince Lombardi did with the Green Bay Packers doesn't even count. It didn't happen.
It's during Red Auerbach's age, yes, but they all had second jobs as plumbers. You can erase them from the record books if you like.
Sure.
Bill the fullback looked like you back then.
Bill Russell
didn't
win 11 NBA titles. Sorry, Bill. Didn't happen.
Right.
We weren't there to watch it.
That's right.
Didn't happen.
You were 6'9" center. You couldn't play power forward today if you're Bill Russell.
Wow. Oh, stop that.
Going after Bill Russell.
I mean, knock it off.
What's his offensive game?
How dare you?
He's got no game.
Put that on the scroll.
What are you? Bill Russell had no game?
Offensive game. What do you think would happen to Bill? You tell me what you think would happen to Bill Russell in the paint right now with today's player. You tell me how you think that would go for Bill Russell.
A double-double machine winning championships. That's what would happen if Bill Russell was playing today. Put some respect on his name, man.
He was 6'9".
I don't care.
That's right.
Yeah.
He'd be hipping Rudy Gobert right out of the paint.
Please go look at his offensive averages.
He was 6'9". He played like he was 7'2".
What day are we playing? Because half the days the Stars don't play, so Bill Russell would be eating people up.
Yeah.
Stugotz, go ahead and look. I don't think you know what Bill Russell's numbers are. I don't know. I don't think you have any idea how limited an offensive player he was. You have no idea what you're talking about right now. You're just waving around Bill Russell's championships.
Well, of course. I mean, who wouldn't? He's got 15 of them or something like that.
Can we meet in the middle?
Against a bunch of people who looked like Cody and dribbled with both hands and were wearing a belt around their shorts.
He averaged 15 points per game for his career. I mean, solid.
No game is insulting. Can we just meet in the middle, Dan? I mean, he has no game.
Not today.
Can't we judge people in their era instead of saying, Babe Ruth against today's pitchers? Irrelevant. He dominated in his time. That's all we ask athletes to do. I'm not going to say, how would LeBron have played back in 1890? Doesn't matter. Irrelevant.
Man, he would have been good.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine?
Better than Jordan.
They didn't
1890?
play the sport yet back then. But
Greg Cody is in. He has placed his book in front of him. He came in a little bit late today, and there were some conflicting opinions about how he feels about the Dolphins, because I believe he was misrepresented in the other room when people said that he was happy with a quality loss.
Oh,
No,
Who
Billy
said that?
Oh, well, I thought they were misrepresenting you. I'm
Thank
pretty
you.
sure it was Stugotz. Billy and Stugotz have both gotten to a point where they just don't care what they're saying anymore.
What is that supposed to mean?
What?
There's no
What? Whoa,
factual,
hold on.
no
Crazy.
factual basis in anything
Falsehoods.
you guys say, and so you had Greg Cody on the opposite
No.
side of an argument.
No.
There's no way Greg Cody's coming into this Dolphin season with a moral victory that makes them fall to 2-6.
I think Greg will enjoy this. What happened, Greg, so you know, is you send me and Dan your topics when you come in every week, and one of them today was no points for good try. Dolphins fall again as Buffalo curse continues.
Right.
And Billy and I were saying perhaps we should change the standings and how we do it in the NFL, where you should get some credit for a quality loss. That's all we were saying.
What we were saying, because Dan, even before you got here, Greg, was even saying, well, the numbers, the play may have not been the right one, but the numbers said that was the right play, and he was disagreeing with the numbers, and we kept going back to the numbers, and we said, well, here's a number, because obviously the math doesn't always end up working out. It can advise you this is probably the most prudent thing to do, but it doesn't always work out. So you're saying there's no such thing as a moral victory, essentially, right? So what we were saying is, sometimes there's some tough luck losses, and you should get credit for said tough luck losses, not in the win-loss standings.
like a tie in hockey. Like you guys would give Tampa Bay a quality loss last night.
Well,
Yeah,
I think there should be, because there's blowouts and then there's quality losses, right? So what if, and we're just kind of throwing this out there, and look, baseball had rule changes.
hockey, dude. They fixed that
Yeah.
a long time ago, dude.
But you do get points if you lose after
no OTL.
regulation. Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, the point was, Greg, we were saying, what if we reserve one of these now expansive playoff spots to the team that has the most quality losses? So they're hard luck losers, but it's because of circumstances that were beyond their control sometimes, and maybe they should get a seat at the table. That's all we said. Not crazy.
Right.
Dolphins are still losing the first round.
Yeah, well.
Not only was that not a good win, it was a particularly bad win, or loss rather. It was a particularly frustrating.
Let's start again, Greg. It's been a minute. The comedians threw
whole
you off.
show?
You came in late. We could start the whole show again if you want, because I think he's disoriented. He
You
came.
love that
You
word.
could just start the point over.
There you go.
He came in,
Yeah,
and then
thank
all of a
you.
sudden, Roy Wood's talking, and no one's introduced Roy
We
Wood.
should start the show over. It was very disorienting.
We could start the whole
Get Roy
thing.
when
I knew Roy Wood was on. I saw him up there.
Yeah.
I love him. He's really good.
You were saying it's not a bad loss. It's not a good loss. It's just a loss.
It's a particularly bad loss because the Dolphins.
Wait,
did
that's a whole nother category in
Wow.
the standings.
A BL.
You know
Yeah.
what? We do need to extend the standings. Particularly bad loss.
Oh, look who wants to play the game.
The Dallas
Look who doesn't
Cowboys.
believe he says now.
The Dallas Cowboys. You think I believe what I'm arguing right now?
I think so.
The Ravens lost to the Raiders early in the season. We're not talking about that.
I want to contrast the two Dolphin losses to Buffalo this year. When they lose 31-10 at home, they deserve to lose. There's reasons all over the field why they lost by that margin, including 3-0 in turnover differentials. This game on Sunday, they had every reason to win the game. Tua played great. He had the fifth best quarterback game in the league.
They played their best game of the season and lost
Yes.
anyway.
And they also had 140 yards rushing for the first time, for the fourth straight game, for the first time since 2009.
Look, this is what the Dolphins, this was what was at stake for the Dolphins, lest you not understand how the Bills have dominated this division. And even if you can pray for, hey, maybe everyone gets hurt in the second half. Maybe Josh Allen gets hurt and all of a sudden somebody wins the division at 10-7 because whatever. What you saw on Sunday is the Dolphins at their very best still lost. The Dolphins with Jalen Ramsey getting the rare interception on Josh Allen at the goal line still lost. The Dolphins lost. Josh Allen is running past your entire secondary, galloping past it, running for 30 yards. It's a penalty. It's not a touchdown anymore. You still lost to the Buffalo Bills in a game that only one team was playing for its season and its blueprint. The Bills lose that game. It doesn't matter at all. They still believe they can beat the Dolphins at every turn, still have a huge, they have a huge top of the division. The Dolphins are playing to get the heat off their coach. The Dolphins are playing to get off, Rex Ryan is calling him McGenius. They're making fun of the Dolphins now. They were playing to not have their season ended against Buffalo. They were playing to have a second half of the season worth playing, and now they're taking calls on Calais Campbell because why would he remain here the last part of his career?
Right, but that was a quality loss as opposed to the bad loss that the Dolphins had earlier in the season to the Buffalo Bills. That was a quality loss, Dan. To me, I saw a team that could beat any team on any field on any given Sunday. That's what I saw.
Okay.
Yeah.
But okay,
When they play their best, they don't win. That's
Right.
what's discouraging.
Yeah,
It's
but
a
they come-
deal.
but they
it's
come-
a discouraging loss.
But they come close. Huh?
Okay, so you want to change the
CC.
standings to have
counts,
seven different standings, including particularly bad loss. Is that the worst of the distinction?
Also, CC, come close.
Yeah.
Okay, but what's the worst of the distinction? Since we're now having the standings have 9 columns, what's the
Well, there's
worst?
more than 9 in the standings presently, so why not add a
All right,
couple?
what's
the worst is EDL, especially discouraging loss.
That's the worst?
Yeah, that's bad.
Oh,
An EDL is worse than a
Yes.
particularly bad loss.
Yes.
Depends
That's
on the doctor.
particularly
EDL.
bad loss is next to last.
No, discouraging is very difficult to quantify. We're just doing this off vibes.
exactly.
Well, wait
Vibes
a minute.
is a good
No,
stat.
but you guys did this
basically
before.
need a committee
you
for
know,
this.
you put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. What do you prefer to go by in overtime? The math or the vibes?
The vibes.
Oh, the
Always
vibes. Always the vibes.
because
Vibes rule.
Not just
The question
overtime,
is that.
anywhere.
No one changes the vibes quite like Patrick Mahomes getting
Yep.
the ball
Has
first.
anyone
Well
ever
said.
asked the question, which do you prefer, vibes or math, with the answer math?
Right.
And late in the
Dan.
football game, I prefer to play probabilities than I would your vibes.
I prefer to win.
Probabilities you
Yeah.
touted are 0-4 for the season, and don't take into account the greatest quarterback of all time and the fact that you only have Cade Otton out
They're
there.
due.
Yep. Yep.
And you're also on our side. I don't know why we're having a spirited debate right now.
It's weird.
Kate Otton's going to be a Pro Bowler, right?
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
He's the Puka Nakua of this year.
You're right.
I
Billy,
have to write a song about him.
Billy, get the Puka Nakua song there real quick, Chris. But Billy's big board bets came in. He had he had that game pegged last night. He had exactly how it is Baker Mayfield was going to play, and he won a 3-team parlay.
Well, it's not a parlay. They're individual things. So
Right.
25 and 12 on the season. And if you make it a parlay and one leg loses, you lose the parlay. If
but
you
that
make three
all
picks,
of your
you
bets
have
would have
3
won
wins.
last night.
Well, Billy was 3-0, and he was texting me towards the end of the game because he was nervous.
Yeah, I
because
said
he
I
didn't-
believe in Baker.
Yeah, he
100%.
No, you said you hated Baker, is what you said to me, and then Baker came through and threw a touchdown pass, and you hit all your bets. But I love how Billy cares because I imagine Billy doesn't have more than $5-10 on these games, but he cares that the listeners are taking his advice, and he does not want them to lose.
responsibility.
Billy and Juju take this very seriously and have done it very well. They care deeply about the bets they're making, and they often get them right in a way like last night that was lopsided because they're actually studying the games. But this is rarefied air. Cody is offering perhaps to write. Cole Kmet, I thought, had a song in him. I'm surprised to hear you say that you're willing to do another Puka kind of song.
Yeah.
His name is Cooper, good at running curls. But when his hammy got a tear, he saw Puka standing there, his blade diminished. Hostile takeover. Nakua hopped into the car. McVay has maybe found a star, and then Matt Stafford threw him 25 and 2. Oh, there's a brand new kid in town out of BYU. They call him Puka. Puka Nakua. His quarterback is not named Tua. Yeah, he is Puka. Puka Nakua. Fantasy assassin, it's the time to cash in. Yeah, it's Puka. Don't need the glow. Don't need the glow.
For all we study that sport, I tell you right now, the field and the Rams are healthy. The field in the NFC, but the Rams are healthy.
I'm taking the Lions.
I know a lot of people are taking the Lions today halfway through the season without accounting for what injuries are going to be the second half of the season.
One more comment. Christian McCaffrey's about to come back. Don't quit on the 49ers.
Well, Mike's been there for a month, but I would say to you right now, if I put the Lions at home against healthy Rams or healthy 49ers, none of you are surprised if the 49ers or the Rams win. Not at all. Not surprised anyway, because football happened.
We saw that game week 1. It
Yeah.
was really close.
Yep.
By the way, you can still get the Rams as of yesterday on DraftKings Sportsbook at plus juice to make the postseason.
It's an interesting team because we get forgetful very quick in that sport, Stugotz. I understand how Mahomes has done it recently, but before Mahomes and Reed, it was McVay was smarter than everyone. And when they're healthy, they look a bit smarter than everyone. Like when they're healthy, which isn't all that often because they're turning their wide receivers to nubs because of how they play offense,
right?
And how physical those receivers are. Their bodies are being turned to dissolved dust.
Williams is a good running back. Puka is back. Cooper is back. And I guess you're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, we should not be surprised if the Rams make a deep playoff
Guys,
run.
we're one late night text over a couple glasses of wine to Aaron Donald from being favored.
Everybody in the league is 4-5, and it's basically, can you just get to the playoffs with McCaffrey healthy? Can you get into the games that matter and then go to a playoff game in Philadelphia where McCaffrey doesn't have to be our quarterback because the other 7 guys are injured?
By the way, there are 9 2-win teams in the NFL, since you asked earlier. 9.
Plus 450 to win the NFC for the San Francisco 49ers. That will do the thing where they get the guys back, and then all of a sudden there's a fishy line to them on the road, but you trust Kyle Shanahan to at least get to the Super Bowl.
Speaking of getting guys back, they got DeAndre Hopkins via trade, but they're going to get Pacheco and Rice back. The Chiefs are going to get those guys back. They're overwhelming.
How confident are we on Rice coming back?
Okay, wait a minute. Hold on.
I said it was positive. I said positive.
Stugotz minor penalty, 2 minutes for Chiefs talk.
You can't say they're overwhelming. You can't say anything. They've won 14 in a row. You've been doubting them the entire time.
Yeah, so.
Okay, get out of here.
It was positive.
You
though.
can't talk
Lucky.
about the Chiefs.
I'm setting something up.
You're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to have opinions on the Chiefs. You spent the entire postseason last year doubting them, and now you're saying they're overwhelming when all they do is win one-score games.
Yeah, they're underwhelming.
They're a play away from losing all the time, but that play's third down, and Mahomes has got the ball, and you're going to lose when that happens.
I don't know that you guys want to do this, but I was looking at their schedule. They have like one tough game left. This team could go undefeated in the regular season. You want to go game by game? We can do it if you want.
I don't want to do it. I never want to do that with
Why
you.
are they allowed to
The
have
Bills
the right
game.
tackle jump? I don't like. They do it more than everybody
It's
else, and
weird.
it's been explained to me that it's actually legal. And my eyes are lying to me that no, they can do that. But it feels like cheating.
You're right. The Chiefs have. We talked about the tush push, the tush push, the tush push. The Chiefs have a play where they are actively allowed to cheat and never get called for it because America, your eyes are lying to you. They've gamed the system. They're doing something that's you've always known to be illegal. It is now legal, but only when the Chiefs do it. No one else has this particular timing. They continue to get away with it.
Also, a correction: Rashee Rice not expected back till next season.
I didn't think Pacheco was either.
We'll see.
No, Pacheco
might be
is.
end of the month. Yeah,
Pacheco is expected back, but not Rashee
broken
Rice.
leg. Sometimes the bones are easier than tendons.
Yeah. I mean, they won't be back for next week against the Broncos, but that's probably a win regardless.
The Broncos are funny because you guys, they're pretty good. You can talk yourself into Bo Nix, who's older than Aaron Rodgers. I just love that is now what people are looking at, the Broncos, because they can get into the playoffs in the AFC because everyone's hurt, and 4-5 and 5-4 is good enough right now. It's so stupid. It really is. Like, honestly, what we're watching, trying to convince ourselves, none of us think the Broncos have any reasonable chance, but can they get in the playoffs? Of course they can, because everyone's 5-4. Everyone's 4-5 and hurt.
It's truly a testament to how wonderful / awful that Thursday nighter between the Colts and the Broncos was a couple of years ago with Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson, because it convinced everybody that the Denver Broncos are bad. Look at where they finished last year. They weren't that bad, and they turned it around after getting thoroughly dismantled by the Miami Dolphins defensively. They tightened up. They're a team that you trust defensively.
The Broncos have, this is true of a lot of teams in the league. It's partially true of the Vikings. Maybe you think they're a good team, or maybe you think they're a good half a team. The Broncos have what appears to be a good enough defense to beat the bad teams like the Jets on the road if Aaron Rodgers doesn't do it exactly right at the end. Therefore, the Jets are one of the league's bad teams, and there are tons of them. It feels like between a third and a half of the league is bad football teams.
The confusing part about the Broncos is they went to Tampa coming off of quality wins against the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions, and they went into Tampa and they controlled that game from start to finish. So, yeah, they can TCB against bad teams, but they can also mess around and win one.
If you're the Broncos, look, Sean Payton is still feeling the echoes of people the Dolphins put 70 on him and made an announcement to the league that it's no longer Payton's time. They put 70 on Sean Payton, and since then, he's gone about 500. he wins about half of his games. And the Denver Broncos do a thing that not everyone can do in the sport, which you just mentioned 2 road games that they won. Tampa and New York, you went on the road and beat another one of these 3 and 6 and 4 and
Tampa
5
was good
teams.
back then. They
Greg,
were healthy.
You said that the Dolphins' loss to the Bills was a bad loss. Was that a bad win for the Bills? Because that's a team that you think is so much superior to them, and it's going to be a tough test.
There's
I
a
think,
bad win now, too?
Well, no, I'm wondering if Greg thinks it's
AW.
a bad win because they're one of the teams that poses a threat to the Chiefs, and they play in Week 11.
Billy, do me a favor before you ask any more questions the rest of the show. Get me the spectrum that you want now on the standings of good wins, bad wins, particularly bad wins. I want to know what your grading scale is so that I can do this with some finality,
I
please.
will tell you this in terms of that spectrum. When you win a division game on the road, it can never be a bad win. It can be an average win, an AW. A nondescript
AW.
A win's a win.
Yeah, a nondescript
A
win.
win.
Call it a
Anyway,
root beer.
Right. Yeah.
So you guys, wait a minute. You guys really want to do this
Yes.
every week?
How
You
many
want to?
columns are there?
It sounds like
public.
that.
We're not sure yet.
There's a lot.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Yeah,
But
talking
you
it
think
out
the Chiefs?
doesn't-
You think the Chiefs could pull one out there in Buffalo?
So are wins and losses actually in these standings anymore?
No,
No.
you
No.
gotta
They
get
are.
rid of
Yes, they
them.
are.
No.
This is just for the
How many
extra
straight-
wild card spot.
You're gonna have somebody going into the playoffs with a record of 1, 2, 3, 7, and 6.
You guys sound
Exactly.
ridiculous.
Yes.
Last night was an AW for the Chiefs.
This is what I am saying, Mike Ryan, and it is where I am willing to side genuinely, authentically with Billy Gill and Stugotz. If you wish to tell me now that we are going to completely change sports and wins and losses are not going to be in the standings anymore, but they're going to be 10 opinions sports fans can give to make the standings what they are, which is I don't believe that the Vikings are actually, or I don't believe the Steelers are a 2-loss team. I believe they're a 4-loss team. And I'm going to just magically make opinions that recreate the standings. I'm here with Billy and Stugotz for Billy.
That's
For
not what we're
God
You're
bless.
wrecking the game. Too many words.
You're actually
going
describing
way
the
too
college
far.
football
I don't know
playoff,
what you're
too.
doing.
I believe that what you guys are doing is you're just saying, I don't want wins and losses. I want to be able to say whether that win or loss was deserved,
No.
whether it was particularly bad.
You believe incorrectly. That's not
Yeah,
what we're saying.
yeah.
We're saying wins
Explain
and losses
it.
are still very much a thing. But if there's a fringe wild card team at the end there at the end, maybe we give a chance to a bad luck loser that should have a better record.
So if a wild card team is 9-7, but they lead the league in
10
bad
and 7,
wins, or
because
10
you
and
gotta
7,
do
excuse
17
me,
now.
There's a
and
rain out.
they lead the league in bad wins. We're saying take the team that went 8-9, but has a ton of quality losses. That's all we're
It
saying.
seems ridiculous to
It's
you,
different.
but this is a conversation that is happening verbatim inside
Thank
the
you.
College Football Playoff Committee.
Dan, it's literally your favorite stat point differential.
I think we have to reach a point where we understand that a good loss can be better than a bad win.
Oh,
I
Christ,
think
man.
NFL
Thank
football
you.
games should be judged
That's
like
so bad.
Olympic
With
gymnastics.
a judge.
Okay?
With a judge.
At the end of the game, you got a panel of 3. At the end of the game, somebody holds up a 5
Thank you.
for the Chiefs' overtime
love
win
it.
last
Right.
night.
Yes, I love
somebody
that.
else holds up a 6
Yes.
for Tampa Bay's narrow loss.
A
as an
judging
underdog.
system. Yeah,
And
I
beating
like
the spread, by the way.
It's not a foreign concept. Have you guys ever heard quality, not quantity?
Right.
That's what we're doing with wins. Quality wins, quality losses, not quantity.
There you
Just for the final playoff spot.
Who had a better weekend? The Dolphins while losing or the Eagles while winning?
Okay, I'm not going to do this with you guys where you come in
Well, think about it.
every Tuesday and you continually, this is now 2 or 3 straight weeks where you guys come in here and you make some sort of argument as 0 championships is better than 1 championship or it's
Sometimes.
almost better. What I want to talk about with Greg Cody that happened on mainstream serious.
Cowboys are buyers.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Who told you?
Adam Schefter did.
Okay.
The Panthers are trading Jonathan Mingo, wide receiver, to the Cowboys.
What a small deal.
Great football name.
The Panthers got rid of him? Ooh, that's
This is a message, though.
It's going to affect Week 12.
Cowboys
versus the
aren't going to be
Chiefs.
selling.
That is a good football name.
The thing that I
W
wanted
for the
to ask Greg Cody, because I was a bit surprised to see this as analysis, and I don't know whether you guys observe the same thing or not. It's not something I've ever seen said on television in the way that it was said by Dominique Foxworth. In his analysis of the Dolphins game, which yesterday I told you I believe Kevin Harlan's should go down in broadcasting history as the greatest call ever made, when Tua broke free from the pocket on 4th and 4, ran down the middle of the field, and he just uttered fear. Dominique Foxworth said on ESPN television, or was it on the Dominique Foxworth podcast, he said that the Bills were afraid to hit Tua, that they were being gentle with him, that they didn't want to perhaps have happened to them again what happened in a game when they played previous this season, and that they were being gentle and that he found it shocking. Is that your appraisal of what it is that you guys watched on Sunday? Because Dominique is the only one I've ever heard with this opinion. Never mind this opinion this weekend. I've never heard it said before about professional football.
I don't think anybody on the Bills team would admit it, but I think he's right. And I think good for the Bills, by the way, because there are two ways to make a tackle. There's a violent way and a less violent way. And I think the understanding throughout the NFL, as I've said and written, is that the next concussion likely or very possibly will end Tua's career. And I don't think anybody wants that on their head.
You're agreeing with Dominique Foxworth's take that the Bills were being gentle with Tua.
There's degrees of gentle and violent. In the NFL, there's no such thing as a soft, gentle tackle, but there are ways to tackle or to sack that are less violent.
How are you speaking on this?
I mean, he's true. He's
someone
he's
who's
right,
watched
though.
football
You can't put all your weight.
The
but
NFL
it's
is
like,
literally trying to legislate a more safe way to tackle.
Chris, it would be human nature to not go after Tua after what you've seen from Tua, especially that team where it happened on a field they were playing on.
I'll trust the guy playing played the game.
I was watching the game, and I never thought, they're taking it easy on him.
Well, when he scrambled, they let him just dive. Like, they weren't going after him when he was running.
I mean, I find it ridiculous, but I never played the game. Dominique does, and he knows what goes through players' minds, so I give him credit there.
No.
But last time they played, I did see a famous collision between DeMar Hamlin and Tua, so I don't know.
I'm going to take it a step further. The last time the Bills played before this, sent Tua away for a month and had us as a football-loving community a bit concussed in unison on like, well, how am I supposed to feel about this? That this guy is the center. This guy I like is at the center of the feel-good hope, the offense. He plays well. I like him. He's going to be at the center of all brain-scrambling conversations for a month. He triggered that discussion. It happened on a field. You can't make this shit up. He collided with a person who had been dead in a Bills uniform, and they had to cancel a game one night because DeMar Hamlin died on the field. And when Tua comes back, he's playing in a way that makes the broadcaster utter through America, echoing from sea to shining sea, because you're afraid for him. Dominique, not only do I agree with Dominique's appraisal of this that I've never heard before uttered in football, not just because he's a professional football player, he's watching and breaking down film. The reason that I agree is because I do understand the humanity in being on the field when that happened. That Bills team, Stugotz, they've had the emotional residue of one of our guys died on the field and we canceled the game. They've got on primetime television, oh my God, we made that quarterback spasm on the field and made America cluck about it in fear, holding rosary beads about the brain damage this sport does for a month. And then he comes back and the broadcaster yells, uh-oh. And Bills fans who donate giant amounts because they understand the violence and they give giant amounts to charity because they understand the gladiator spectacle we're watching. That Tua finds himself in that game with Dominique Foxworth appraisal, not just that it was happening, he was shocked to see it happening because he comes from the world where Ed Reed and Ray Lewis are prowling around your locker room, and those people are hunters and they do not do kindness. Winning is the only thing that matters. Dominique used the word shocking to describe he was surprised by his own appraisal.
This was on his podcast, by the way. Dominique, it's interesting because this is not your normal concussion. We saw Tua react to the concussion in a way physically that we have never seen a player really react to a concussion before. So this is
you mean the first one with the fingers?
Well, yeah, and even the second one, even the latest one.
Second one,
yeah. Even the latest one.
We have seen other concussions like that, Stugotz. They're not. These
for
are
the
not
most
that-
part, Josh Allen gets hurt. He bangs his head on the ground. He goes into the blue tent. He comes back out, and he plays five plays later.
We are making the amateur, unscientific diagnosis of it does seem like his brain injuries are a little more physically, obviously easy to diagnose.
But when you see what you saw out on the field, I would be hesitant to hit Tua as well, because that reaction to me is not the normal reaction to someone getting a concussion. Sometimes you don't even know a guy is concussed.
I also think it's different with a division rival that you see twice a year. I just think there is a difference there. There's more.
You're more like, I care about these guys. I see
There's
him
more
twice
of
a
an
year.
intimacy between the two teams.
Not
They know
once.
each other.
You guys
more.
sound crazy right now. I don't want to
Intimacy?
dismiss Dominique, but I think you guys are way off on this.
I think
that they were
Dominique-
just playing football and he didn't get injured. So we're saying that they were trying not to, like they were trying to play football.
These are human beings. You don't think there's human nature that says, I'm a defensive player about to tackle Tua Tagovailoa. I don't want to be the guy who ends this guy's
It's a
career.
lot of thinking we're asking this guy to do while trying to hit him.
Poyer
at a fast
wasn't
speed.
doing much of that thinking on Sunday. Poyer, who's played for both of these teams in all of these games, continues to harm people with his hits.
You mentioned division rivalries, Week 13. Raiders head to Kansas City.
Oh.
Close one last time. I think they blow them out. It's a Friday special, day after Thanksgiving. Watch out.
So are you saying it? Put your name on it. Like, go ahead and
Saying
say
what?
it.
Well, I
The-
have
the
them
Chiefs are going undefeated.
Well, I have them 13-0 thus far. We haven't moved on to Week
No,
14.
but
That's against the Chargers.
But just
That's
say
probably
it.
a win.
Four games to go,
But just
Dano.
get through
Yeah.
it. I don't need to get the whole schedule. Just say it.
At Browns. That's a win. Then the next week versus the Texans. Tricky team.
Jessica, I
tricky
promised your thoughts on
Could be a QL.
Indiana because one of the things that I wanted to get to that we didn't get.
Oh, thank God. When you have to pee real bad?
My goodness.
I've been trying because this is, Tua. It's a sensitive topic.
Yeah.
But Dak Prescott's been put on the IR.
He might be off of it by now.
Right.
Yeah.
Been waiting so long.
So wait a minute, you just said the Cowboys.
You
were
let Joe
buyers.
Rose scoop us on this.
Yeah.
I will never forgive
We
you,
had this
Chris.
15 minutes ago.
Oh, my God.
But I thought
was
the
getting antsy.
Right.
Uncomfortable for me physically.
I thought they were open for business. I mean,
You said the Cowboys were
Taking
buyers.
calls.
But
What
they
happened?
got Cooper Rush a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm good now.
How much more breaking news are you guys expecting?
I mean, I'll let you know when it comes in, but I had to sit on that massive scoop for a while.
I was very depressed this morning. I heard Adam Schefter on the ESPN radio morning show saying he does not expect anything big to happen today.
Setting expectations
This is
low.
from Rossini. What I'm hearing about NFL trade deadline, 13 players, 18 teams to watch closely.
Wow.
And we haven't even talked about the committee tonight. Who's going to surprise us tonight in the top 12? Are we going to be able to argue and yell about anything, or is Miami going to be
Tonight,
ranked?
I think we're going to be arguing and yelling quite a bit tonight.
Jess, I have a question about the committee. Are they going to be projecting, because a lot of people, like On 3 puts out every week, the playoff bracket prediction. Is the committee just going to rank these 1 through 12, or are they going to take into account where they think they would rank the conference champions?
I actually was wondering the same thing. I know they're doing a ranking tonight, so I think that you would then put that into the bracket based off what we know about how the bracket will look. I don't think they're making a bracket to like reverse engineer a ranking out of.
Right, but it's like the Big 12 leader going to be 4.
Well, it depends of where they rank the Big 12, like the highest ranked Big 12 team. Like
So
right
it's-
now, for example, like Boise State in the AP poll is only a couple spots behind BYU. I think BYU's 9 and Boise State's 12. So if the committee likes Boise State more than BYU, they'd be the projected higher ranked team,
Wow.
conference champion.
That would send shockwaves through.
Shockwaves?
It could. It'll be interesting.
BYU does have a pretty solid win.
Well, is it
over
interesting
SMU.
or shockwaves? Because
Well, I don't think there's it's the first ranking. I think there's a
Just
whole month of
interesting.
a whole month of football
Get
left.
carried away.
There was
It is
a-
exciting though because it's the first time they've done the ranking in the new college football playoff system. So this is how we're going to be able to figure out what they're thinking for the subsequent weeks when there are more upsets.
How they're going to do it.
I'm going to surprise you right now, but I saw a tweet yesterday that suggested BYU should easily be ranked over Miami because of who they beat, and I got so mad, and then I looked it up, and I was like, he's right.
yeah, that sucks when that happens.
God damn it, you're right. SMU is a good win.
They beat Kansas State, too.
Jessica, this is what I want to ask you, though, because everyone is all in on, man, this has been a fun first half of the season, and yes, I'd prefer 12 teams and give me more football. But 7 of the top 25 lost this weekend, and the impact of that is what? Because if at any other point during college football, 7 of a top 25 had lost before now, it would have ended a whole bunch of seasons, and that's not what happened this time. So the impact of this weekend is going to be what? Texas A&M is the big impact? Clemson is the big impact?
I mean, they all matter to an extent, but I think that like there's a whole month of football left. So yeah, like you're right, there are going to be teams that make the playoff who lost big games or embarrassing games in the case of Notre Dame if they end up making the playoff. But when you expand the playoff field and you have a lot of conferences like the ACC and the Big 12 where there's not one standout, obviously with the exception of like Miami and BYU are both undefeated but haven't played a really tough ranked matchup yet, then yeah, you're going to have some weird teams make it. But again, like the LSU and Alabama play this weekend, so
playoff game.
It'll be interesting to see where they rank them both, but one of those teams is going to lose, and then they're going to be probably out of it because it'll be their third loss of the season.
I want to use that game as an example, and I think Stugotz has come around on this, so it's unfair, but I'm going to hold this up because over the last few years, we've seen game of the century type of matchups with LSU and Alabama, and those ultimately didn't matter because there was always a rematch later on in the postseason. And meanwhile, a whole bunch of people told me you have to protect the sanctity of the college football season because games like that shouldn't matter. When that game hasn't actually mattered with consequence until the postseason, despite them routinely playing in the regular season.
Now it matters.
Now it matters. You have a college football playoff eliminator game. Whoever loses that game is out of the discussion.
I have come around. The problem is James Franklin doing what James Franklin does doesn't matter anymore.
Blue chip.
Like he lost to Ohio State, he's still going to make it to the playoffs.
Well, but he's got to do things in the playoffs.
But your overall point is right. Like this weekend, you have another game, Georgia and Ole Miss. That's a playoff game for Ole Miss, not for Georgia, but for Ole Miss. Yes.
But also the schedule's worked out for Penn State. There are going to be other years where their schedule in that conference is going to be tougher, and James Franklin isn't going to be able to keep getting away with this.
Wouldn't you say that 2022 was LSU Alabama was a playoff eliminator? It was Alabama's second loss of the season. They were out of the playoff.
But didn't they get back in?
In 2022?
Did they? I don't.
No,
they all
I think Jessica's got this right. But the overarching point is, as Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, and Ohio State have fought to rule this sport over the last 5 years,
and Michigan.
Well, Michigan snuck in there, Stugotz, but Michigan didn't beat Ohio State. Like, Michigan snuck in there last year, but Michigan was not the power. You were firing Harbaugh many times over during the 5-year period I'm talking about, where you just had a handful of teams ruling the sport. And we have, like, we can forget, was that the 9-6 game that was played late in the season between LSU and Alabama that I thought was going to be an offensive game? There were like 6 giant SEC games over the last 5 years.
And they blend together. But Jess is right about that one in 2022. It did end up being a CFP eliminator with a smaller CFP.
So, Mike, I agree with you. There are more games that have more consequences, and that's a good thing. My fear is whoever wins that LSU game, are they going to do anything if they make the playoff? Like, is LSU good enough to make a run? I have no idea.
But that's why they play the games. And I think in this season, a more wide open season than most, you can't just discount a team because they're in that opening round. You give them the opportunity to make some noise.
Your argument is the same argument that was being made in 2021 about Cincinnati. Like, are they really going to beat Georgia or Michigan in the playoff? No. Do they deserve to be in because they had a undefeated season and beat a top 10 Notre Dame team? Yeah. Like, that's the same if it's 4 teams, 6 teams, 12 teams. There's going to be teams that make the playoff that don't have maybe a real shot. They're going to be 10, 14-point underdogs in the first round. But when you expand the playoff and the sport is as wide open as it is in terms of, like, there's tons of talent. There's some really, really, really good teams. There's some really good teams. There's some just good teams. There's some great teams. That just sort of is how it works.
People like to cherry pick whenever those group of 5 teams get in and get blown out, and you hold up outliers. But TCU was an outlier. They were not. That was a huge upset in the college football playoff, and it's a testament to why you give those teams a chance. And they were coming from an even bigger conference. So I'm pro more great games. And I think this college football season's really stuck out. You look at the slate every week, you got at least 3 games that you can get really excited about and talk yourself into having real consequence. And it's only going to get better. We're not even though in games we're past the midpoint of the season, the college football season goes to January 20th. We're not even halfway done with this emotional experience.
I would say even a game like Iowa State at Kansas, Like, that's a big game. Iowa State has one loss. If they lose again, they're out of the playoff.
That is not a big game. That will never be a big game. I will not live long enough to have that be a big game.
Big
Please
rivalry.
back away from the microphone.
Indiana is playing playoff games every single week. They lose once in their rounds.
Let me explain to you what it is.
They play Michigan this week.
Stugotz, all of the rules are changing in the way that we are consuming all of this stuff. And the explosion of minor league professional football into, yes, they're making some Saturdays feel like Sundays. I think most people listening to this would tell you they don't need a committee. I think the general appraisal is, give me a playoff with 12 teams and make 6 of them SEC teams. And throw LSU in there because I know they got a bunch of athletes, even though I don't know if LSU's actually any good. People are just going to look at the SEC and say, yep, those 6. No Oklahoma this year, but give me those 6. Throw Texas in there because that's the reputation the SEC has earned for a long time now. But this is a new landscape where Northern Illinois goes into Notre Dame. And some of these mid-tier teams can win on any of the Saturdays because it's not what your college football used to be. There are 20 teams that could win on any Saturday against another one of these teams.
Any given Saturday.
No, but I mean, it's like a James Madison or something can go into North Carolina, and all of a sudden you got 50 points at the half.
Another new landscape, Christmas Day games for the NFL. Chiefs at Steelers.
Oh, it's bullshit because the Steelers have 3 games in 10 days. Chiefs,
Insane.
Ravens, and I forget the third game. I think maybe the Bengals. It's 3 good teams in the span of like 10 days.
Scales tipping towards Chiefs,
it's ridiculous.
You're saying?
Yeah.
All right.
100%, Billy. Dan, I think
16-0.
I think Vandy's a better example of what you're saying
Even
than
better.
Northern Illinois because they're able to get a quarterback, an offensive coordinator, and an assistant, and a handful of other players to transfer in, and then all of a sudden they're now going bowling. They beat Auburn at Auburn for the first time in school history. Vanderbilt's never won at Auburn before. Vanderbilt hasn't beaten Alabama and Auburn in the same season since 1955. And it's all because they're able to use the portal to get talent that helps them have a schematic advantage against a lot of the teams in their conference.
It's weird to me because Vanderbilt, to me, this year is what Missouri was last year, where I'm like, how did that happen? Where I'm like, that doesn't happen in the SEC, where one of these teams from down here can all of a sudden win NIL. And wait a minute, Missouri's a 10-win team. Oh, Vanderbilt, if you made me right now pick 12 teams to play, and you told me Vanderbilt had to be the 12th, I'd be like, yeah, probably. Go ahead and do it that way.
Let's do that, actually.
Yeah, let's do the 12.
You guys are
12
perpetuating
right
this
now.
BS. It's not the same
do the
conference.
SEC. Let's just do the
It's not the
SEC
same
plays each other.
conference.
Because you don't believe in Penn State. Let's just do the SEC plays
I don't
against
want
each
Penn
other.
State there. I want LSU. Get out of here. Give me Ole Miss.
You just questioned LSU 30 seconds
whatever.
ago.
That was
LSU
then,
lost to
this is
USC. USC just benched their quarterback.
That was before
They
he brought
can't
up-
keep getting away with this. How does James Franklin and LSU keep doing this?
They have some quality
LSU is
losses.
ranked ahead of Texas A&M. They have one fewer win, and they lost to Texas A&M.
I don't know. If
Quality
Penn
losses.
State wins out the rest of their season, like they deserve to be in the playoff.
They do.
They will win out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
well, why are you frustrated with that? Then they'll get to the playoff, and maybe they'll get beat, and you get to say, like, there you go, James Franklin. You're only the 8th best team in the nation.
I'm frustrated about it because James Franklin could never get to the playoff when the playoff was 4 teams. So we expanded it, and now he's being rewarded for being a lousy coach.
But he's not going to end up winning at the end of the day.
That's
He's not
terrible
lousy.
coach.
He's
I don't
not
wanna hear about
terrible.
it.
Stugotz, he's not lousy and terrible.
Haven't we been
Not
through
good.
enough as
What's
a
your
country
name?
to subject ourselves to Penn State in the playoffs also?
I mean, Billy, like on a personal level, I agree with you, but like I think that Stugotz, like you could say that about a lot of the coaches that are going to end up in the playoff this year. How many coaches in college football have won a national championship that are current head coaches?
I don't know.
Kirby, Dabo, and Mac Brown. That's it.
It's a small list.
Right.
And
I just want Georgia, Alabama.
okay, that's that.
You
You might
got
get
it.
it.
All right,
we'll
you might
see.
get it.
There's going to be a 3-loss
We
team
already
in the
saw that
playoff.
this year.
I want to see it again.
Wait, Cody
You
just
want to see that, but you don't want to see James Franklin.
Cody snuck in with
I
one
don't
wants to
ever
see
want to see
James
James Franklin
Franklin, yeah.
again.
You
No,
guys,
me
you
neither.
guys didn't hear Greg Cody. Greg Cody tried to sneak in with a take that none of you had.
There is going to be a 3-loss team in the college football playoff.
Yeah, everybody
There
knows
is?
that.
Yes,
yeah.
there will be. Absolutely. They'll
Wow.
sneak in at number 12, and they'll be the proverbial team you don't want to face in the first round. I love the college football playoff. I love the expansion. And I said this when they expanded from 4 to 12. The arguing doesn't stop because now the team 13th is going to be, whoa, outrage, injustice. Colorado.
That what they're gonna be
Deion
saying?
Sanders is going to be bickering to be the 12th team. You know that.
Outrage!
Yeah, but
Outrage!
We knew that going into
Injustice.
it, but we knew that the outrage wouldn't match How do you leave Baylor and TCU out?
I think there's going to be an outrage at 12 and 13.
No, I
Really
think the
do.
outrage is going to be 8 and 9 because the difference between hosting and not hosting a
Oh,
game
that's
is going to
big.
be
Yes.
probably like who's lost to a 7-win team was worse or whatever. It's going to be something. It's
That's
going
a
to come down to
different
something
standing.
really stupid.
That's when we start
outrage.
parts, and that's when we start applying this logic.
Who
that
has
we
more
had earlier in the
AWs?
show.
Exactly. I mean, this is literally what the committee argues.
So, Dan, who are your 12?
Yeah, we didn't get those yet.
I am with Cody and Stugotz and Billy on the idea that the standings should no longer have wins and losses. It should just be.
Wow, huh.
Well, that's what
The
we're going to.
3 loss team's
Thank
going to
you.
get in because of quality losses. Keep
Yes.
laughing at this stat.
No.
It's a real
Also, they
thing.
literally did last season based on vibes. They were like, Florida State should be in, but the vibes around Alabama are just so much better. We're going to put Alabama in. So they've done it both ways.
It's a good 6.
Greg, why did you just put up a judge's 6?
That's the rating scale we talked
That's
about.
the
Rating, yes.
So
Who
this-
got a 6? Who got a 6?
A 6 is Tampa's good loss, edging out Kansas City's bad
So we're
win.
back in the
last
NFL.
Well,
night.
hold on a
Okay,
second.
good.
I think
Like
it's
it.
important for all of us to know the scale before we take this any further. Is this a scale out of 10, or is this like Olympic scales where it's like a 6.12? Like what are the
I like
numbers
the rounded
here?
off number.
Okay, out of 10,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
is 6 the best?
You got no 6. 6 is a good losing
Let's make
number.
it an 8
Slightly
scale.
above average.
Yeah.
1
Right.
to 8.
I like 10.
Billy, please
Okay.
stop. Billy, I don't need
He's
you.
trying to get things in
Yes.
order.
I'm trying to help.
No, he is not.
What do
No.
you mean?
No, he's not trying to help.
There was confusion as to what that 6
No,
represented.
right.
That's a good point by
I'm-
Bill.
You know, if
Okay.
you flip it
Thank you.
over, it's a 9.
Allow.
Oh,
That is
wow.
true.
No,
No,
that's
not
why
anymore.
I
It's false.
underlined
Ah,
the 6 to let
there
you know
we
it's
go.
a 6.
He got your
there you go.
ass.
Thank
He
you.
did.
Boom.
He
I
was
gotcha.
on to your shenanigans. He did. He put a line under it
This
so there will
plan
be no
is foolproof.
confusion. You know, I've got the fool for you.
Yeah.
And the proof that I have that Cody and Billy and Stugotz are only interested in malfeasance is you guys are absolutely advocating for the standings to be just what you guys think was a good win or wasn't a good win.
And that's different than the committee
it's-
how?
different,
It's
yeah.
Billy and Greg and Stugotz get together and decide who's good or who's not good.
Damn right. That was one of my best friends in high school was named Malfeasance.
Really?
That's
I
not true.
swear.
Wow.
No, at that time we didn't even know enough to make fun of him.
Yeah.
Nobody knew
Oh, he
what
was a
the
man.
word
I would have
Right.
thought Mallory Feasance.
Right.
That's myopic.
How
was
is
the guy?
Mal?
Who
How
was
is
the
it?
guy?
How is Mal?
What's Mal up to?
I lost touch with him. I don't know.
Too
Mal
bad.
short for something?
Mallard.
Malcolm?
You don't know the name Mal?
Mal? No, I've never. Mal.
Put it on the poll,
Mal,
please,
Mal
Juju.
Gibson.
Are we still making Mals?
Malvin.
What is Mal? What
What
is
is
Mal?
Mal?
What is Mal short for?
No, I'm
Malvin?
not named Mal. Why
They
are you asking me?
They didn't know any better at the time, Dan.
You were full of shit. There was not a student called Malfeasance.
I had a good friend in high school named Malfeasance. I think it was spelled with 2 E's.
This is the new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
Chris, your father doesn't like when I accuse him of being discombobulated. He's been wrestling with his phone and it's dinging the entire time he's been here. And I got to be honest, people don't see Greg Cody during the breaks, but they will see that he's beaten down on a couple of fronts because, A, he's saying this is going to be a rough night tonight in the Cody household. Just a rough night.
Going pessimistic.
Unless it isn't.
Okay.
CFP guy?
But he's also, and this I think we underestimate around here, the Codys are a proud Dolphins family. The biggest fan in their household is Mom.
Yeah, by far.
She is by far the biggest fan that the Codys have in their household. Chris and Greg care plenty. She has been slaughtered by this season. Dolphin fans dared to hope this would be the year they would get past Buffalo. And a proud Dolphin family collapses in Plantation tonight, scared of the election, bolting their doors. The Codys, Greg's not himself today. You laugh. Greg's not himself today. He's rattled.
It is a weird day. My mom's a misery to watch Dolphin games with, by the way.
Really
My
is.
God, like even when things are going well, like just every play, ooh, she just like makes these. I don't watch games with her anymore.
She expects the worst. Is she wrong?
I'll FaceTime with her at a point in the game, maybe, but like it's just like I can't deal with your noises.
No, she's a fatalist. And an example is at halftime, I forget the exact score at halftime, but the Dolphins were playing, they were in the game, and her comment was, at least we're not being embarrassed. That's her watching a Dolphins game.
That's a QL.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That is how we felt actually watching that Bills game.
All right, so you guys
They were
are
winning at halftime,
you guys
10-6.
doing
There you go.
quality loss. You're doing yes, they were winning 10-6, and at least they weren't embarrassed. Greg Cody is now holding up a judge's scorecard. Last night for the Chiefs. I'm good with Greg Cody gets to decide whether something's a 10, a 9, an 8, a 7, or a 6 as a victory. Because I think that Greg Cody was so impressed by the Buccaneers last night that he'd be willing to give the Buccaneers about as many points on his judge's scorecard today as he gave the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs won the game, because Greg, Billy, and Stugotz want to eradicate wins and losses, and they just want to be the deciders of who's good and who's not good.
So you want
judge sport.
You want Greg to assign a number to the Chiefs' win? I think you should do that, and I'll assign a number to the Bucks' loss. Okay. All right.
So you guys are going to get to a position where you give more points for the loss than you do for the victory,
We'll
because
see. Right.
I don't
We'll
like
see.
what we're doing around here. But it is what the committee is doing tonight, correct? We're all in agreement that this is all stupid, everything that we're doing with football. Where
Football? Are you kidding me? Look at the election. Someone's going to lose that thing and possibly win that thing.
All right.
What are the next couple of days going to be like? Like we make you guys are preparing.
I think you know.
For a storm.
I think everyone knows. I think everyone knows what the next couple days and weeks and months potentially are gonna be like. So.
Hopefully 1 week. Let's just get there by Friday.
Okay, but wait, you guys are filing a lot under that. You're expecting violence, correct?
Whoa, no.
You keep saying that.
In the Bengals-Ravens game? Yes.
No,
I mean, of
I
course.
would be
I keep
really
reading that.
disappointed to see that.
Well,
And I think
there's already been violence against poll workers, like starting last week. So yeah, I mean,
You can't go from look, guys. We've been we turned January 6th as a date into an argument when it's not an argument. This isn't going to just be stuffed down quietly if it loses. And
right.
it's,
So
and
to
it's,
my original point, days, weeks, months, we know. I mean, we've seen it before. We saw the first season. It got renewed for a second. So here we are. Hopefully, this is like the bridge to the finale.
I don't know what's going to happen. I keep reading that if Trump loses, that there will be violence by the mega crowd. I don't know. I have to think that in the lesson learned category, that if somebody tries to storm the Capitol again, they're going to see the U.S. military there with
he's
tanks
more
going.
he's
turn
more
around.
desperate than he was back then, because the choice now is between, do I get to be king of religious America, or do I change all of the laws, democracy, and freedom and get to be king of religious America, or do I die in prison? You're going to get the most desperate him. Like it's going to make January 6th feel small by comparison, because he wasn't as desperate then as he is now.
I'm trying to be chill, man.
Yeah.
I'm really not trying to follow
Let's
that
just see
vibe.
what happens.
Seriously,
man.
like I'll react to that vibe, but I think all our perception with reality is heightened and altered because of social media. Quite frankly, it's trying to do that so it could sow the seeds of everyone being surprised if he doesn't win the election. I'm just going to take a minute, understand that 4 years ago, it didn't feel like our democracy would withstand what it was faced with, but it ended up doing that. So I'm going to go tonight, watch the Avalanche, bring back a Turi Lehkonen, because I think that offense certainly needs firepower. And I'm going to take 30 milligrams and melt in my couch for a little bit.
Attaboy.
And watch a CFP. Maybe offer a fantasy trade to a friend and maybe shitpost him. Come on, let me give you 3 bad guys for 1 good guy. Do that thing.
That's what you do when you're on 30 milligrams. I mean, wait until you see 40 milligrams. Valhalla. I mean,
Okay.
crazy.
This one of
terrible trades.
One of the
do that annoying penguin voice that my wife hates. You
Yeah.
ain't it, kid.
Do you guys realize that nothing about America has changed more in the last 8 years than Stugotz pretending he didn't do drugs to Stugotz all of a sudden popping gummies right and left at a milligram count that is alarming?
I don't think I ever pretended.
Yes, on 3.
Nothing has changed more over the last 8 years
Well,
than
the playoff
Stugotz's
system.
general comfort in public with telling everybody that he's stoned all the time.
Well, not when I'm here. I mean, I'm a professional.
If you're doing
Immediately after.
if you're doing 40 milligrams the night before, if you're doing something that strong,
Yeah.
you're coming in the morning still a little baked, even at your
do
level of
flaxseed
pain
oil.
threshold.
And it also depends on the strain.
Yeah, it does. But Valhalla. I
Okay,
mean,
regardless.
do I feel stoned now? A little bit. Yeah.
I mean,
do.
I assume you're always some form of altered.
The strands are so confusing. I'm just like, give me in the middle. Just hybrid it up.
I get a weird neck sensation with one of them.
Really?
Yeah, it feels like someone's just choking me, but not.
Right.
Let me get back to Greg Cody's rough night tonight. Why is it going to be you're stressed? You're
for sure.
Okay, well, you say for sure, and Mike Ryan has been saying for a while now, I'll get out and vote when it happens, and I'll make my voice heard then. And now the time has arrived, right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people listening to this would like me to just talk about the trade deadline and not at the moment that we are in America. I've never cared about Election Day before. I've never had this kind of fear before.
Khalil Herbert to the Bengals.
That's big. That is
Zach
big.
Moss went down.
Yep.
They need a little thunder to that Chase Brown Lightning.
Chase Brown owners in fantasy are like, yeah.
There's still a roll. No, they're probably not.
Yeah, no, the opposite.
They're probably
They're
like,
like,
oh,
no.
no, bummer.
Like,
He's
shoot.
still going to be active in that passing game.
Yeah.
Still Chase Brown.
He's having a
Speaking
good year.
of football, I mean, the Dolphins, the Lobos have to deal with Dak Prescott being on IR.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, our backup is Trevor Lawrence.
Oh.
Not a whole lot there.
Right.
So we may hit the trade market ourselves.
Little Cooper Rush, maybe?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I don't know about that. Come on now, Cooper Rush, please.
Time now for this week's useless sound montage.
Frustrating part about this is we didn't come out and we didn't execute well enough to win the game. But that's the NFL. Like, if you want to win, your playmakers have to step up and make plays.
A tough position. We got to find a way to make some more plays.
Yeah, the ball did not go where I wanted it to.
Gave us a chance to win the game. You know, obviously just didn't pull it through.
I mean, look at me. I needed it bad, man. It was, we needed it.
You know, I'm going to strive for perfection every day and every game. So, you know, until that happens, what's there to be happy about?
I got to go to Brazil one time. I got to travel to Brazil once.
You know, to come out here on a primetime game and, you know, get embarrassed like that is never fun. And, you know, I believe, you know, we have to be better in a lot of areas, you know, and that starts with me. You know, I think there's plays I got to make, throws I got to make.
Probably the guys for fighting. I think that's the biggest thing. Disappointed in the loss. Got to be better. I think some decisions that I made throughout the game that would have, you know, impacted the outcome, and take that, you know, upon myself.
We have to eliminate plays that beat us. And I had 3 of them, and we all know plays that we can help this team out with. So that's just accountability, and I think we're going to embrace that. And having a week to really digest how we can get better.
Hopefully it's give us confidence so that we can beat anybody, because we feel like we could.
I'm just focused on, you know, the next day, the next game. That's what's allowing us to win games is we take one day at a time. Every second counts. Maximize the day. Keep blinders on and go about your business.
I'm not one to kind of settle. I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep challenging players, and we have to get better. So I'm not going to settle on the fact that it is what it is, obviously, but we're gonna roll up our sleeves and go to work.
You know how I feel about it. I mean, it's gift gift from the football gods.
We really had a lot to play for. Guys wanted this one bad, so this will hurt. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing in the big picture. It just depends on what you do with it.
We want to start fast, and that's, been our Achilles heel.
Proud that we found a win. I can't say it was a complete complimentary, a game full of complimentary football, but we found a way to win.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun to watch, man. I mean, he's come in the building since he's been here, and he just got after it every single day. He works his tail off.
Shocked one bit that we came out here and played pretty good football out in the elements. That we're built for this, man, and it doesn't matter. And just because we play indoors, it doesn't matter. I mean, we can play anywhere. We can play in the snow, we can play in the rain, we can play in the mud. That's just us, and we're built to win.
My phone number has never changed.
Let's not make any excuses. We got whooped today.
Greg Cody has informed me that Mal is short for Mallory in the feminine and Malcolm in the masculine. And so I don't know if we're still making Mals or not. I do need to have a palate cleanser, a bit of... Wow.
You okay, Greg?
Okay, that's a violent cough.
I found the cough button just before.
Wow.
You're welcome.
I think we owe you $5 now.
Wow.
Thank
I
you.
understand the fines for it.
There you go.
I need to cleanse the palate a little bit by just putting in some sports highlights here that we can enjoy together, shall we? So who would you guys rather watch here? Saquon Barkley doing video game jumping, or Incarnate Ward starting a new celebration for America that the Lions are now doing in the end zone as well? Which would you prefer as a palate cleanser?
I've seen Saquon, so I would probably prefer the new invention.
Yep, same.
Invention? Is it a new invention?
I think so.
The Incarnate Ward just...
I think it's Incarnate.
Incarnate Word.
It's Carnate, yeah.
That's a fine.
Ricky
No,
Williams
it's okay. I
used to
think
coach there.
he just sounds like he's like doing an accent, like a New
How
Jersey
did you say it?
Ward.
I was
Ward?
saying... Yes,
K. Ward did go there.
Right,
I
that's
made
what I
it
was thinking.
W-A-R-D instead of O-R-D is what? Yes, an Incarnate Word.
Incarnate.
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 Incarnate
That's a
Word.
fine.
Incarnate, yep.
Okay, so
I mean, look, they got to get a new name, clearly.
Terrible name.
It's a bad name. It's a bad name.
because I can't pronounce it.
It's tough. Look, I always have to like I'm approaching a speed bump with it. I'm not a fan. Change your name.
The hyphenated... There aren't a lot of teams that have a hyphenated...
It's not hyphenated.
Okay.
It's not.
Incarnate, I mean...
All right.
It's a religious phrase.
Yeah.
What
There's
is...
the celebration. It was a headstand.
I don't know. Just call yourself Bible State.
And he
let's
got
be done.
he got a flag for it, which
Somebody's
is
going to break their neck doing
absurd.
that.
Well, Greg, there were a lot of copycats in the NFL Sunday, and they all did a really good job, and ended up taking the league by storm.
No,
the
I don't think it's that
celebration.
tough.
Even
to do.
Eli Manning tried it.
You could do it, yeah?
I could do it.
Oh,
no, you could not.
no,
I
we
would
don't
not.
approve.
No, let's do it.
No,
Let's do it.
no,
Let's
He's
do
not
it.
saying he
Just
would.
what are you doing?
He's saying he could.
Just what are we doing?
I wanna see it.
Do not
First of all, I
encourage
look
Do it then.
ridiculous in a football helmet.
Eli did it last night. It was
No,
fine.
you can't
Yeah.
NC Martin also did it.
No, please don't do that.
No,
What
I
is
won't,
red
believe me.
camouflage in the end zone hiding? Blood, right?
That took a
The blood
darker
of Christ,
turn.
maybe?
Oh, there you go.
all
Thank
right.
you.
It is. We are in November.
Incarnate means like of the flesh.
It is a biblical phrase, yes, and it is. I'm not meaning to be blasphemous and not knowing how to pronounce that. It is something. I don't. This is not a religious school, but that is.
It would have to be.
I thought it was.
It would
Yeah.
have to. I'm certain of it.
Priests wearing red camo at mass would be dope.
But it is
That's
Military
true.
Appreciation Month.
It's definitely it's got to be a Catholic school.
Just a month, huh?
I think
I don't
it
know.
is.
If it's the word, it would be the word of God, correct? It
Their
would be
theme song is "Word Up" by Cameo.
That's true. And by God.
The way you were saying it sounds like when people from New Jersey say like Florida or like orange. So I thought you were just doing it like
because
i
I'm making it incarnate
mispronunciation.
instead of incarnate.
No, the ward part.
Yeah.
You are from New Jersey.
Yes.
Word.
So the word of the flesh is what it means, literally. Word of the flesh.
Which
So
kind of doesn't really, when you juxtapose it with a word of God.
I think the word became flesh, right?
Is
Yeah.
it?
I think you're right.
I am not Catholic enough for this discussion. I bow out.
The best part of that celebration isn't that he did it. It's that he told them to go ahead and throw the penalty flag. It's okay. I'm going to enjoy myself anyway. And then in the video, you see the penalty flag for the celebration, and he does not care at all. Like he does not care.
38-6.
I know.
Dan, when you're doing that, you don't care about a flag.
I understand. It's we've evolved the celebration to a pretty fun place when that's how we can play college football, getting penalized. The University of Miami spent about 15 years changing the rule book because all of that was viewed as unsportsmanlike instead of fun.
I feel like the celebration and how cool it is got overshadowed by Dan saying incarnate ward. I don't think I can even mispronounce
Incarnate
it.
Ward. Oh, maybe he's from Boston.
I made it incarnate ward.
Awful.
That's what I made it.
Yeah,
yes,
terrible.
I'm glad that you're enjoying that. It's not the correct pronunciation, and it is true. Ricky Williams was their running back coach for a year, and I believe they set records when he was that. But I didn't think of that as a religious school when it must be, if it is the word of the flesh.
Why do you think they would name it that?
I didn't give it a lot of thought.
Well, let's get down to this. Let's find some answers.
Call them up.
So it is an odd name.
You think it's like BYU, that they have all sorts of religious rules?
But I get why it's called BYU.
Right.
It's named after a person.
Yeah.
That's important to the faith. I get that. Incarnate Word.
There's more than one. Like I think there was a school named Incarnate Word. Now I can't say it either. Where I grew up, like this is a common name for Catholic schools.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
I also have Cam Ward of the brain, by the way, because
should get that checked out.
He's been the best quarterback in college football. He's been the best statistical quarterback in the University of Miami's history. He has the best receiver statistically, in the most productive receiver in the University of Miami's history. We've never seen 9 games like this from a quarterback in University of Miami history. And when, Stugotz, I was saying, even though Mike was vigorously defending the local city of Miami for on noon on a Saturday not filling 80,000 people in a stadium, I know it's a tired thing to file at the University of Miami fan base, but this is not a college town. It has never been a college town. It's a spread out big city town. I just happen to believe, without being overly critical of Miami's fan base, that it's not even the 9-0 team that deserves that place to be full because of the business investment the University of Miami made that is cashing in year 3. Because it was a big business investment that they made. A whole lot of Columbus people were wrestling to see who can get Mario Cristobal's positioning as the guy who learned from Saban to change a program over. There was a big University of Miami business investment that got made there. And if you do not want to go to the games because you still don't understand or believe in the schedule or think of a long ago time when Miami didn't lose a home game in the Orange Bowl and you deserve undefeated seasons, if you weren't going to fill that place simply because Miami is one of the best teams in our second most popular sport, the reason I would insist that Miami as a community celebrate this is because they have the thing everyone wants in football. They've got the best quarterback. Like he's an entertainment bonanza. He's underpaid whatever they're paying him because they've got offense in that sport. And so it's worth watching because they ain't going to win 2018. Their linebackers can't cover anybody. They give up way too many 50-yard plays. I can see them losing to any one of these teams because they run off 7 40-yard plays and Cam turns it over 3 times and they lose 40-30. But they're going to get 30. Like, they're going to get to their 30, even if they're down 35-10 in California, and he's got to get it all in the fourth quarter. Like, this is the thing every sports city wants. You have the quarterback.
You do. You also have the history of the program. So I'm a little bit surprised that more people aren't going out and embracing this wonderful team because you're right. Not only do they have the best quarterback in America, not only should that quarterback win the Heisman Trophy, but they have a great team that's going to make the playoffs. The problem is, I think, as to why the attendance is so bad is because while Cam Ward is entertaining, the teams they're playing are not.
It's not so bad.
Right.
It's not so bad. It's just not full. And what I'm saying is
you should embrace it. I get it. Yeah.
This business investment by the University of Miami deserves the support of its community because they've got the very best thing, and it can be gone in a week. They could lose at Georgia Tech because it can happen in college football and it's not going to feel like this. You should enjoy it when it happens. You don't deserve it. You've been waiting for 20 years for the program to be back.
I don't deserve it.
It's a very strange selling
Go to the
job.
game. You don't deserve it.
Yeah, and they're probably going to lose because they're not good.
Hard disagree. I say I deserve it.
I'm with Dan. That was the incarnate word.
I think that South Florida feels entitled because of whatever the 90s and the 80s and the 2000s, the early 2000s were, that 9-0, you'll turn your nose up at 9-0 because the schedule's been tough, and you don't actually believe that this is one of the best teams in the country.
I appreciate you sounding the alarm for people to support them. I don't think that this is that real a thing this year. They sold out the FSU game with not a lot of FSU in that building, and there was close to 60,000 people for a noon start against Duke. Historically, pretty good. We've gone over all the reasons why Miami is an outlier and that attendance is a little overblown. They're compared to, the Big House and the Horseshoe, and that's not really what this program is.
I agree with Mike. I think the attendance for a noon start for Duke as the opponent was good. I thought it was very credible, better than I thought it would be.
School thought it was good.
Yeah.
I mean, they would love a sellout, and they probably love this segment. Yes, go out and see it. Usually the best offense in the nation is something reserved for a MAC team. Like, what are they doing over there at Bowling Green or in the middle of Lubbock, Texas? It's not often that you have a premier brand like this associated with that exciting type of football. There's a couple of outliers, and it's a really cool thing. They have the best receiver that's ever played for the program in terms of being prolific, and Xavier Restrepo should be a Bolitnikoff guy. Look at his stats compared to Travis Hunter. It'll blow your mind. And understand that Travis Hunter also plays DB.
That's the part. Well,
but they have the best quarterback. They got a real fun team, and they got a shot. They legitimately have a shot because they can put up 35 points on anybody. And if they figure out how to play conservative defense, put two safeties back there, they can beat anyone. I really feel that way.
In my Cam Ward for Heisman column, which you can read in the Miami Herald, one of the points I made was that Xavier Restrepo has more receiving yards and more touchdown catches than Travis Hunter. That's a fact, Jack. And as for Dylan Gabriel inherited a great program. Cam Ward took over a 7-6 team that lost to Rutgers in a bad bowl game. So there's no comparison with how much Cam Ward has meant to that program. Since Oregon is 31-5 since Mario Cristobal left, and he in Dillon
Gabriel
replaced. I'm getting excited here because
what's happening right now?
He's talking Ducks football.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Everybody slow down. I told you he's disoriented. He's a proud Dolphin family. Election night has him. Look, he's coughing. He's coughing.
Boy,
this is what's happening. Look. It's late in the show.
Wow.
He got thrown off by the comedians at the start.
Hi, why do you keep saying that?
I mean,
well, because what just happened
Gabriel
is
Dillon.
Yeah.
You just had the ball alone in the open field and you were running and you started wheezing and talking
Turf
Ducks
monster.
Turned into Jalen Waddle. Went
Ducks
backwards.
football and then you got self-conscious. The floor is yours.
Okay.
Right.
Look, you've got 90 seconds
Okay,
to give
Gabriel
us all
Dillon.
of your Homer UM thoughts.
Stop being a homer, bro.
Okay, it's a better name than Dylan Gabriel.
You're doing
let's be
great,
honest.
Greg.
I agree.
Okay, what I want to say is
Gabe.
Oregon had a much better quarterback last year. You look at Gabriel Dillon's stats.
Dude, it's Dylan Gabriel.
Compared
It's
to
Gabe
Bo
Dillon.
Nix.
It's Gabe
It's not
Dillon.
even close.
It's what he wants it to be.
It's legal name. He did last name, comma, first name.
Thank you. Bo Nix was a much better quarterback and should have won the Heisman, finished third. This guy does not compare
Greg,
with Cam Ward.
Greg, I know.
Not even close.
Greg, it is clear to me that you would give Restrepo the Heisman and that you and Mike Wright.
I would give Cam Ward the Heisman.
Wow.
Boy.
But you
Wait,
don't
did
even.
you just give Bo Nix the Heisman last year?
I said he should have won, but he finished third.
Yeah.
Nick's Bo. Yeah.
Didn't he finish third?
He got a touchdown this week. I know that.
But over Jaden Daniels?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why?
Okay.
In my opinion.
That's his opinion.
Are you a
That's fine.
voter?
Short
fine.
name.
He's
That's fine.
entitled. I mean,
I would have given it to Jordan Travis or Travis Jordan. Whatever.
boy. Yeah.
Okay. Hunter Travis, also really overrated.
All right, but what you guys are
Better
doing,
name.
you guys,
It was.
the thing that both of you are doing, look how pleased they both
Hunter
are.
Travis, probably different race too, right?
Hunter Travis will be at the Heisman ceremony, unlike Restrepo, Xavier, because he plays defense.
It's absurd.
He also plays all the
Well,
snaps on defense.
Pretty well.
Hunter Travis is a baseball player.